This is the thing, because for Horner, I think the dream is that Ricciardo goes in and is a couple of tenths off of Max in qualifying, and then is kind of finishing behind him in the race every weekend, or a couple of weekends he's ahead or whatever. That's the dream, but I don't see it happening anymore.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, sorry. Jesus. Sorry, I'm allergic to Daniel Ricciardo being back on the grid, apparently.
Coming to the second driver now, the second topic. The second Red Bull driver. Look, there has been a lot. Again, the great Helmut Marko, he came up and said that Red Bull is probably going to choose between either of the two RB drivers. Now, either of the two RB drivers are Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda.
They're not picking
either of
Yuki.
the two, and apparently, according to him, Sergio Perez is out from 2025.
Who said
That's
this?
what he meant. Helmut Marko.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but again, we have to take Helmut Marko. Helmut Marko
Precisely
Helmut Marko doesn't know where South America is, so I'm not going to count on him to tell me where things are going.
Yeah. So when it comes to him, ultimately, look, there are 4 options. There's a Daniel Ricciardo still. He's still there, even though fans hate the fact. I think he'll still be in contention. Then there's a Yuki, there's a Liam, and there's Checo Perez.
Yeah.
There are 6 races left. How do you think the cookie crumbles, and ultimately who will be the one who will be teaming up with Max in 2025?
Well, so to touch on Perez and actually go back on what I said, I do kind of agree with Helmut Marko that I don't think Perez is there next year full stop anyway, because I think that Red Bull, after the last 3 to 4 years, have seen this is just the same thing happening over and over again. And when the going's getting tough now, where they can't rely on a Constructors' Championship because of Max alone, and they're going into 2026, I think Horner himself has probably realised, I not only could lose the Constructors for 2026, I could lose Max. So I need to start planning not only the second seat, but kind of ramping up a replacement for Max in the future. So I think those wheels have to turn. So I think Checo is gone. As for the replacement, I think it's all on Lawson, because I think Yuki's not going in, right? And
I don't think he is.
As much as I was a big proponent up until the kind of maybe a few races ago that Yuki is really performing really well, the problem is I don't think Ricciardo probably did enough to go into the Red Bull seat. Yeah. And if Ricciardo hasn't done enough, then Yuki's not really done enough either, because Yuki and Ricciardo for the last 6 or 7 races have more or less been... Yeah. So, if Yuki was absolutely destroying Ricciardo for the entire season, it would be like, okay, fair enough, he deserves a chance. So it really comes down to Lawson, doesn't it? This is why I don't think there'll be any switch from now until the end of the season. I don't think it makes sense anyway.
Yeah.
But I think that if Lawson is absolutely categorically destroying Yuki, then there's your answer. He goes straight into that seat. It makes sense, right? You swap him over. If Lawson comes in and doesn't outright beat Yuki over the rest of the season, that's a more difficult decision. And I could genuinely, in that situation, see them go, right, we've got Yuki, Lawson, and Ricciardo all performing roughly the same. Ricciardo's the known quantity. Let's give him a season. That's where I could see that crazy decision happening. If Lawson comes in and completely, not even destroys Yuki, but is just comfortably ahead of Yuki every weekend, doesn't
basically
need to be
6 weekends is 4-2 in favor of Lawson. He gets the nod.
Yes, I would say it'd have to be 5-1. 4-2 is probably still cutting it too close. But if it's kind of 5-1 or 6-0, forget about qualifying. Qualifying is one thing.
If it's 6-0, it's done. I mean, if it's 6-0, because he'll be coming in without any.
If it's 3-3, I think Ricciardo's talking.
Sorry?
If it's 3-3, I think Ricciardo could potentially be called for a seat, basically. Yeah. You're right. If it's 6-0, it's done. It's over.
Yeah, that's over.
Lawson gets the seat.
I think somewhat similar, and I think there's a reason why Daniel Ricciardo has not announced his retirement from Formula 1 until now. And the reason is very simple. He's been told, we'll see out the season, we'll see how things actually pan out. I don't think Sergio Perez shows enough. I don't think he has shown enough until now. The only race where he was actually performing, he ended up crashing. And okay, it's a racing incident, but still, no result to show. So that's still against.
Look, even if he finished second in that race, then he did a terrible weekend in Singapore. Like, you know,
Which
the
was
problem
crap.
I have is just like, as much as I love Sergio Perez and I want to see him stay on the grid, I just, Jason, as Sai always calls me, Jason, I'm a Perez fan. I say, yeah, he hasn't done enough over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So I think like, if you're Horner looking at this, surely you have to think to yourself, well, look, it doesn't really matter. Even if he wins the next 6 races, he hasn't done enough over the last 3 years.
Look, if he wins the next,
if he wins the next 6 races, fine. But
even if he wins one of those 6 races, he'll get the seat. I doubt he gets anything more than a podium, and that's me being very optimistic and pro Checo.
I think even if he wins a race, it's the wrong decision. Personally,
it is the wrong decision. I think
because
it's a very simple
every
thing.
single year
you
it's
do
been
the same
this
thing,
roller coaster.
you get the same result. It's just that.
It's been a roller coaster for every year, where it's high peaks and then down, high peak down, high peak down, and that's just not. That's fine when Max is like destroying the championship.
Yeah.
But when it's this close and next year is going to be even closer, you don't want someone who's beating Max, but you want someone who can back up Max every weekend.
You don't want a liability. That's the whole bit.
I mean, what happens though if all three, like, do they give Ricciardo the seat, or do they genuinely think to themselves, right, we need to maybe call a Sainz here or an Albon back, or, you know, figure some way to get someone out of contract? I wonder. Because potentially
I don't think they're going with the
situation.
Sainz, because if they wanted to go with the Sainz, they would have gone with him already.
With the Sainz.
Yeah. I'm not sure they'll go with an Albon, especially with the way Franco Colapinto has performed against him.
Yeah.
Maybe Franco Colapinto gets the nod.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. And that would actually send James Walls in a fit of rage, so maybe, yeah. But I don't think he'll stop him. If Red Bull comes calling, it's not only about being smart, he also understands that.
There is the problem though with what I said about Ricciardo moving up, which is if you've got those three there, the problem with moving Ricciardo up long term, I don't know if Horner will think about it this way.
It's not a long term thing. What's going to happen is either
you have to remove one from the second seat. Then I think is the problem.
What?
Because if you're bringing Ricciardo into Red Bull, say that scenario works out and you do bring him back, right? The problem with bringing Ricciardo up is it doesn't free up a seat to try another junior in the back unless you drop Lawson. So do you think in that situation, if Lawson doesn't perform for the next 6 races...
next season there won't be... Isaac Hadjar is mostly going to Super Formula, right? So there's no one waiting in the wings.
That's true, yeah. So you kind of... Yeah. So you're kind of screwed. Yeah.
I think there are two scenarios. First is if Lawson beats... I think it's not even 5-1. I think if he beats Yuki 4-2. Because look, we have to take things into context. He's coming into Austin without any pre-season test or any kind of experience in the car.
And Yuki's been in the car for the whole season, yeah.
So if even in those scenario, Lawson is able to beat Yuki, he will get the nod.
Yeah.
Will he beat him or not is a different...
I think he will, personally, but we'll see.
I don't know. I've underestimated Yuki a bit too much.
I have too, but I reckon part of Yuki's problem over the last few races as well has been the fact that, like, he was comfortably beating Ricciardo for half a season, right? And still there's no conversation of, all right, we'll consider you for next year. I wonder if Yuki's kind of like, this is pointless, like, you know, like maybe some of the motivation is gone.
Maybe.
Know, which would be fair. Like, if you're in that situation where you're like, I've done everything I can possibly do for 3 years now, and I'm not even being considered for that seat. Like, what more do I have to do here? You know, like
I agree with you. But the thing is, Yuki still is a Formula 1 driver, and once the Red Bull door shuts, he will not be a Formula 1 driver. He's not.
Yeah.
There's no other place for him. Right?
Haas maybe if Toyota were a Japanese driver.
He's a Honda.
That's the
driver,
problem.
Right? So,
as Henk said in the comments, Honda and Toyota.
Yeah, Honda and Toyota.
So I didn't realize Honda. I knew there was some rivalry there just because they were from the same country, but I didn't realize it was like a really staunch rivalry.
It's not staunch as such.
No.
It's there, but it's not like they will step on each other's shoes. It's not a case of BMW
I'll potentially need to cover. I'll need to cover this on my new channel. Well,
yeah, the rebranded channel. Yeah, it's BMW and Mercedes, right? It's not similar to that.
Yeah,
it's more. But again, Japanese people are not that violent. At least
Audi and BMW are a huge rivalry as well, right? So
they tend to have that. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
Audi and Porsche.
I don't
Audi
think
and Bugatti, Audi and Lamborghini. Audi just hates everybody. But anyway, so
I mean, it works for them, right? So maybe that's why. Anyways, coming to this thing, do you think it would be the right decision to actually promote Liam after just 6 races? I mean, it's basically 12 races overall.
Look, if he comfortably beats Yuki, then I don't see what other option you have is the problem. Like, is it the right decision? If you want to promote from within, yes. If it's the right decision in terms of like everything, like, the whole picture, then no, because there is tons of drivers that would probably jump at a Red Bull seat that would be better, that you could open the checkbook. Not tons, but there's a few.
It's not really, I mean, it's not even about that. It's about putting a young, inexperienced driver who's not even spent a year driving in the midfield.
Like, it could
putting him alongside Max Verstappen in one of the toughest cars to drive in Formula 1.
But when he shows up that Max is actually not like overrated, that'll be fun, No one believes that. No one's buying that.
By the way, Lawson was dominated. Okay, but some people are not going to like this. Lawson was pretty much outclassed by Oscar Piastri. Yeah. To an extent, outperformed. Again, everyone has a lot of theories, but Logan Sargent was probably a better driver as a teammate in the F2 season they both had. So
yeah. But
who knows?
Clearly, though, Lawson is a better driver in F1 terms at the minute, though, than Logan Sargent.
That's also true.
So, it just, I don't know. Like, I just don't know what other options they have. I still think there's a good chance that in December they're calling up Ricciardo for the Red Bull seat. I could still see it happening.
I think it's going to come down to either Ricciardo.
He probably doesn't deserve it. I'll point out, but I could see it happening.
Yeah, by the way, just to clarify, we don't think
I'm not saying he deserves it. I'm just saying in terms of just a pragmatic approach, balancing money and performance, it depends what Lawson does, though. If Lawson absolutely destroys it, like if Lawson wins 6-0, then it's kind of like,
undeniable.
Give him a chance. This is the better driver. If he's 3-3 with Yuki, then I see Ricciardo getting a call straight away.
Yeah.
Makes sense as well. They bring Albon back.
Give Lawson another year. Maybe give Daniel half a season next year, and give Lawson half a year compared to Yuki. If Lawson is still comfortably beating him, and Daniel is continuing to find it hard against Max, make the switch.
This is the thing, because for Horner, I think the dream is that Ricciardo goes in and is a couple of tenths off of Max in qualifying, and then is kind of finishing behind him in the race every weekend, or a couple of weekends he's ahead or whatever. That's the dream, but I don't see it happening anymore.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, sorry, Jesus. Sorry, I'm allergic to Daniel Ricciardo being back on the grid, apparently.